What's up? This is Rebel Radio.
What up? What up? This is DJ Newmark.
This is Peanut Butter Wolf.
It's your boy. It's okay.
Keep checking out Rebel Radio.
Rebel Radio.
This is Rebel Radio.
We're in the place right here. Rebel Radio is going down.
Would you say Rebel Radio?
Oh, wait. Let's do it again.
Rebel Radio.
What's up, Rebels? Welcome back to Rebel Radio, the weekly show where I bring you the rebels who are shaping our culture. We talk about how they do it, why they do it, and what you can do to get a little piece of the pie for yourself. I'm your host, Josh Levine, and check it out. This week, I have a question for you. When I say the word DJ, what do you think of? Me, I think of a person who plays other people's music, usually vinyl or CD, whatever it is. It might be hip hop, it might be electronic, it might be open format, it might be oldies. But when we think about today's guest, those definitions really don't do it justice. DJ Brace he's a DMC champion. He's a party DJ. He's a great producer. But he's a turntable artist. If you watch his videos online, like I have, some of his routines, he's got this new instrument that I had never seen before, the fretless fader that enables him to make sounds and do things with records that I've just never seen before. It's a work of art and technology all in one, and he's got some great stories about his journey, how he got here, where he's going, and what he goes through to be that technically proficient as well as musically creative. No, that's great, man. I love all the background. It's amazing.
Cool.
And I'm well, let's get into it. That's so much fun. I love the I don't care about this till you win. That's amazing. That's like the most punk rock thing you've said.
I don't care. Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, I was like, oh shit, But yeah, man.
So it's cool to do this, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure, man.
We met at the Z-Trip thing.
That's right. And I really enjoyed that. I dragged my wife out to it.
Oh, cool.
Because we're still new here in LA, trying to see things. I'm like, come out to this thing. And she usually hates, I don't want to say hate, but doesn't like the DJ and hip hop things that I take her to. Sometimes she'd be like, hey, this is, it's kind of dope.
My wife's the same way.
Yeah. But so I was like, university, nice campus, Z-Trip.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day.
And beautiful day. And she's heard of Z-Trip before, and I think she ran into him once with me. I introduced her to him before, so she was kind of like some common ground. And then the questions you asked and the type of interaction was really interesting to me, even though I knew a lot of the answers to his questions.
Sure, yeah.
And I mean, being someone like him, where you get asked specific questions that are kind of not repeated, but they kind of all lead to the same, and so I kind of knew a lot of his stuff, but it gave me a bit of a different perspective, and then just hearing the type, it really interested me in what you do, because of it's not often that you hear someone interview a turntablist, unless they're a turntabilist.
Yeah, of course.
Or DJ.
Right. Yeah, it's usually the technical side.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So it's cool. But
no, it's cool, man. Well, I'm excited to talk to you because your stuff's amazing, man. I've been watching you online, and and I know you were telling us a little bit of the history, which I want to dig into, but. Let's start at the beginning. Do you remember the first record you ever bought?
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, okay. So there's a couple of, first records that I bought.
Yeah.
Maybe even 3. I mean, maybe even 4. Because, when I was, not even 4 years old, my nanny at the time, she gave me the Culture Club.
Okay.
And because I was into Karma Chameleon, and I was really into Michael Jackson.
It's a good kid song.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even, I was just she'd play it. She gave me the tape, and I was like, that's my first tape. I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, wait, I can listen to this without you being here? I was just cool.
Yeah.
And so I understood what recorded music was. But then, when I had some Star Wars type records and stuff at that time, little mini, storybook stuff. And then, but later, I was 9, and CDs just came out, and they were expensive in Canada, sometimes $40. And
when do I imports.
Where do I have? So I started on this Columbia House thing. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Pay a penny, get a bunch of records.
I had the BMG.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So and then I was like, okay, I did that, but that was only so much, right? And so then I was going. I love garage sales. I always loved buying like used stuff and just going through junk and finding gold. And then I was like, oh, records, okay. Oh wait, I can get records which have music on them for like $0.25. And I'm like, well, I want that other stuff on CD, but I just want music essentially.
Yeah.
And I knew my mom had a turntable that wasn't being used, so I was like, let me just get a bunch of these. So I had like Boston, Journey, like all these like rock records, like classic rock records from Canada, but then I'll like once in a while I'd find like a jazz record or I'd find something, and so I just had this stack. But then all of a sudden, like, kind of growing up, and then there's this like record. I got Ice-T on CD. Like, I was really like, way before Body Count. Like his like
6 in the morning.
And so I got that, snuck it, because it was like, I was still really like a kid, and it was like parental advisory, and I was like, just like pretend. I was like, I went to like 4 stores before they gave it to me. But then Two Live Crew came out.
Yeah.
And As Nasty as They Want to Be, and I just wanted that. I was just like, I wanted that real bad, and for whatever reason, and nobody would sell that to me because that was just too far, and they were making so much noise that with that specifically.
Yeah,
so,
your mom would have been upset if she found that.
And she totally was when I finally got it, but I had to buy it on vinyl to get it.
So you were telling us before how you kind of started in punk rock, in bands, and then skating, And so I didn't. Sorry. Well, I didn't actually start in punk rock. That was when I first had band situation. I got a guitar around. My mom said I had to start piano before to try it, and I was like, she's like, try it for 2 weeks. I tried it for 2 weeks. I hated it. Yeah. I just really didn't see the point of it, and I got this guitar. And then I was never good at guitar. Like I really had. Actually, I was never good at any of this stuff. I had to just put in hours. But anyways, so I was like, of course.
So it was like Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's who I wanted to be at first. I was like sitting in bed trying to like copy him and stuff, and that makes me think of something else. Is that when I first got tapes, I would look and I would remember, like, if it was Led Zeppelin or something, I would remember which side the levee brakes was on, what order it was in, and then it just got so big because I just started buying some. I just started but it didn't get to my long term.
I mean, it's funny you say that because memory is really important for DJs, especially turntablists, right? Where you're finding the right part of the record and whatever, and watching your stuff. And I want to talk about that, but like you're remembering 50 things at a time while you're performing. I
mean, that's the thing. It's like things and moments. Yeah. Whereas a lot of DJs, they'll speak to them and they'll be like, this record and that and that break was first used by so and so. Yeah. And then I finally got a chance to be in a band, and we were like this kind of punk rocky, sort of like light punk rocky band. We're called Scumflower. And actually, true story, the guitarist from that band is now Katy Perry's guitar player. Okay. Yeah, and then after that, I came to Winnipeg, where I joined a band we were called like Dropkick, and we ended up becoming Bottom Line, which became more hardcore. And I left that because bands were just hard to. It was hard to get your ideas out, and hard to like, it wasn't. I didn't feel right, and so I went and started I was already a skateboarder, but I went full time on that, and I was trying to be like pro. Yeah. Or at least sponsored by a shop, and I got pretty good. Yeah. Because the thing about skateboarding is it taught me. You have to try things if you're some people came naturally like right away, but you have to try things 1,000 times till you get them sometimes, and that's okay. To like live in this kind of like not low expectations, but understanding that you will get it as long as you continue to try. And and the thing about that, so it led me into turntables and stuff, because I was like, I missed music. And I just said, like, I didn't even know anything about scratching. So I just heard, on the radio, like rap songs I like, hip hop and music, and I heard like different like pitches of it. Like I heard this Method Man song, it was like higher pitch. I was like, wow, these got all these different versions. Like I guess you can only get them on record. So little did I know that they just played the faster to mix, but that didn't even matter.
Where's the fast version?
Yeah. I was just like, what? Yeah. But then I went to Fat Beats, and back in the day, the records were like $4.25 a record. And keep in mind, I grew up in New York between '91 and '94, so I didn't like know any of this stuff about the golden era. It just was like around me.
Well, we didn't know at the time.
Well, yeah, but it's just
we
like,
didn't know it was the golden era.
yeah,
We just knew it was popping.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I guess what I meant. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's really. I didn't realize I was in some greatness. I just felt good in New York,
Right.
and all this stuff was coming out, and I was seeing like all these people on the street. Like I saw The Edge from U2, saw Q-Tip one time, and saw like.
That's New York. You just see people.
Yeah, and I was just like, whoa, okay. But I was kind of like, they're there. Like this is just like the thing. I was used to the fact that like what you see and hear will be around you. So it was kind of inspiring, and I was kind of like, but also kind of like raised the bar in terms of like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do something and be like one of these people or be around them, because I really want to be around them, whoever it was.
So was there somebody that inspired you to start DJing, or that showed you, that like taught you?
No, that's the thing. And so I was just like, I liked hip hop, and then I remember after hardcore, it was just it was getting into the point where like bands like Earth Crisis, they were just demanding you to like be so straight edge. They wouldn't even drink coffee or have sex, and they were just like, they were just like screaming this like anger towards, and I was like, that's just not. I mean, I'm not like a hippie. I mean, I was down with like all that hard shit, but like I was just like, you guys just don't know how to live. And then hip hop was just cool. And I remember it from, that was my point in talking about the 90s. I was like, this is just, I remember just feeling good. So I'm gonna get that and listen to it. And I still listen to some, my tapes, my hardcore tapes and punk tapes. But so I just wanted to get those records, and I got the turntables. My dad, I bugged him and begged him, and he got me my first guitar, so I was like, and then he got me some belt drive tables and Geminis, and a Scratchmaster, Gemini mixer. So I was like, at the time I was like, come on, Dad. But looking back, I'm like, thanks a lot, Dad. You got me in there, and so I went to get a record from the record store, and in town, and I knew it was the guy DJ Finesse was there. He's like really like, big time over there in Winnipeg. And I was like, hey, how they get that sound, that sound? He's like, pointed at the record. He's like, that's the only one you need right there. So I was like, oh, this is my Bible.
It's like a Tools record.
Yeah, it was a Rectangle, the white record. So I went home, and so I scratched that with the infinite loop, and I was like, wait a minute, because scratching wasn't the reason. I just like, but then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I'm way better at this than what I'm trying to do. This is my thing now. I was like, wait. So I just kept scratching, and then my graffiti writer friend of mine, I was hanging out with graffiti writers mostly, came over and he's like, yo, check this out, it's from my brother. He wanted me to lend this to you. It's a DMC, West Coast, 96. So I saw like Melody, Babu, and then all these guys from the East Coast came, and the U.S. Finals was at the end too. So I saw like Mr. Sinister, like this. That was just like, that was then like my internet grew, and I was like, yeah, I could see, but I still couldn't really loop the record, all right, a little bit, and then and I had like a long backtracking a long time ago. It's funny, like I was like, not funny at the time, but I was 9, and I was riding my bike. The CCM bike, it was a Canadian-made bike, and the pedal fell off. I was riding real fast, pedal fell off, and I just like flew up, and the bike landed on me and broke my arm, like both bones. And I was like, whatever. I went to the hospital, they fixed it, and but my aunt was a lawyer, and she wasn't having any of that, so she sued them and got like a bunch of money.
The bike company.
Yeah. Wow. And I didn't really know about what happened,
sure.
but I knew that I was about to be 18, and she's like, so you got this money coming to you, and I was like, cool. She's like, you gotta spend it wisely, or let's invest it. I'm like, no, I'll put it in my bank. She's like, but we got it. I'm like, put it in my bank. I had the right, so then I snuck off, and I went to this place called Advance. It was like a record, electronics store. They didn't have anything to do with DJing and anything. It's just they had 1200s. They had all this like stuff, but and they had 1200s. So I was like, and they were expensive. They were almost $1,000 each. They were like $850 and before tax, and I was like, that was like the biggest thing I ever bought in my life. Sure. But I had this money, and I was like, nothing's gonna stop me. I went right to that store, bought 2 1200s, had the boxes. I was like, I can't believe, like, am I that dream when you have all the games you want, the Nintendo or something, and then you wake up and it's gone. So I know my family's having dinner, and I drove home. And I was going to take both of them, but those are super heavy boxes, like both of them, they're big boxes. So I was like, they're like, hey, come to dinner, da-da-da. And I was like, 1 sec. So I like ran down, snuck one, ran down, snuck another, put them in there. And I just couldn't, I was like eating dinner real fast. I was like, nice to see you guys. Ran downstairs, set them up, and then I tried it, and I was like, wait, I can rely on when I rewind it that it's gonna be where I need it to be. And I was looping the record. I started making my first juggle, and I was like, this is crazy. And then I heard the DMC was coming, like not even a week later. It was like serendipity, and I was like, let's do it. I have a little bit of a thing with this record and that record.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it got started.
That's great. I love that. I mean, it's funny you talk about the turntables and having the right equipment because, like, this art form comes from like everyone had bullshit equipment at the beginning, right? And when Kool Herc was mixing breaks, direct drive tables didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And but now, and I know that you, who is it, Reloop? You created a table with them. Yeah, I did. And I, just looking at that, I just saw it online. And it's like that's light years ahead of the 1200.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like just seeing like what people can do with this machine it's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so
I think it just speaks to like, as the technology advances, the art form advances.
For sure. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. And like just one thing about that though is a lot of people, especially the new DJs, take that for granted now.
Of course.
So like the turntable I designed for them, because there's two sides to it, regular DJing side and a musical side.
Right.
When I first signed with Reloop, I told them right out the gate, I want to design a musical turntable based off the Controller 1, which is this Vestax turntable, designed by DJ Woody and some other people, Ricky Rucker and D Styles, a bunch of people like Tico, and I had that turntable. I love that turntable. It's what finally bridged, like allowed me to really be musical again after all those years of, and not just like percussive or like, the difference would be, and I'll explain it in a minute, is if I wanted to be musical with notes on a regular, even with Serato, regular turntable, I would have to either change the pitch, which is cool, or have many sounds in a row that are my notes, and then like remember that's at 9, that's at 12 o'clock, that's at 3 o'clock, and that's and it's not even just a lot. It's like imagine if a guitar player had to like run after his notes, like, okay, I want that note, I'm gonna like, it's like they know where things are, and it's all ergonomic, and they can get to it easily. Whereas us, it's like, and it's not. It's kind of like it's not natural.
Right.
And with the Controller 1, there's a full scale, like a full octave, and you can change transpose. So basically, if a band's playing and I have a tone, and be like nah 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 nah. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, let's go. And I had like pitch bend, and it was solid. It was like they had technology from NASA up in that motor. It's like serious. And it was like you change a note, it was like fast, like right there, and none of this. So I told them, like, because it's defunct, Vestax doesn't exist, those turntables go for $5K right now, and I was like, guys, do that, and let's make a super dope portable turntable. So fast forward, they were designing it. They had the turntable called the RP8000, and it had all these buttons like on the bottom, like cue points here, and a lot of people were dissing it, but I was like, I got it. It's my favorite table by them. I got it, and no one uses their thumb really. If you notice that when people DJ, it's like just kind of hanging there. So we have an opposable thumb. That's like what changed humanity into like being able to use tools and stuff. So I was like, wait a minute. Awesome. So I was like, I could change the sample and then scratch and like it's gonna be like tick-a-dun, tick-a-dun, tick-a-dun. So I was like, now I can change those notes where I need to. Wow. Then I was like, wait, why are we doing that? Why don't we just make those change the speed just like the Controller 1 did? Talking about it with them after, because that was before I got with them, and so then I had already been using this thing called the fretless fader, which has like every scale imaginable, and I can tell you more about that later. But it's designed by this guy. I've seen it. It's dope, right? It's like I
mean, it's crazy. Like I remember with Z Trip and Radar back then, and I remember I'm friends with I've been friends with Apollo for a long time, and he was out with, remember he went out with Branford Marsalis. It was like his DJ. Buckshot LaFunk.
Yeah, I know that, but wait, DJ Apollo? Or?
Yeah, DJ Apollo.
Yeah, like from Scratch Pickles. Buckshot LaFunk was dope. I remember that. But
I remember at that time, like people talked about like, this idea that the turntable is a musical instrument. I think it was actually Branford who said that, and it took somebody outside of DJing to kind of say that for people to believe it.
Right.
But I remember hearing that, and I was like, I don't really know what that means. Like I sort of get it, but. And obviously, what those guys do is amazing, and always has been. I have.
What year was that around when you heard that? Approximately, I'm not trying
95.
Okay, word.
And what following Qbert, Mike did, change the game, and what Z-Trip and Radar did change the game, and so, but I still never. It's really until watching you that I understood what it means to be a musical instrument.
Wow.
And to be fair, I don't mean to. Gas you up, but I don't think that's even fair. I think because there's that one video of you where you're I think it was one of your DMC routines where it's the fretless fader and the pedals.
Yeah, it was just a wah-wah pedal.
And it's that's way more than playing a guitar.
Yeah.
You got 3 limbs going and so many different sounds and I can't play guitar, so I'm not taking anything away from the people that
but
do
it's
that.
Valid. I mean, you're watching, it's your respect.
It's a lot of fucking work that you put in.
I mean, I think we all have things that fit like a glove, right? Sure. And sometimes you feel like this is how, you might get there's a mouse here with a big ball on it for so some people like that. Some people just just typing and moving the whatever with the little pad, and it's what feels comfortable for you. And for me, I find it's kind of like a I don't want to say it's just I know how to access what I need to, and then just what features are on the machines to allow me to do certain things. So I'm if I'm with my hand on this, my hand on that, where can I get? Oh, okay, a foot pedal, or I saw heard D Styles and Qbert scratching with a wah-wah pedal, and I was always into that. And I actually didn't get one, or ever try it really, until about a month before I started working on the DMC, and I had to build that version of the fretless fader because I didn't know John Bees yet, the inventor of it, and so there I am waiting for parts. Every month, Germany or China, and putting slowly together things and messing this up and cutting mixers and meanwhile thinking, because there's this guy I was competing against who had one too. I thought for sure he's gonna, I'm no one's gonna beat me at my tone game. And then every turntable had its thing. Yeah. So to me, every time you do a DMC routine, you got to do, or a battle routine or a routine, you got to up it, and also you're able to up it. Sure. It's like skateboarding, so first you kickflip 3 stairs, then you're well, I could probably kickflip 4, and then so on. And plus you want to, because you don't want to do the same thing. Not just the same thing as other people and elevate, but also yourself. You're just not satisfied. You got that hunger of so. And then so you're adding, and then you're able to do more, and then that was just a culmination of those years of trying. And then I was I could use any equipment in that battle, so I was what do I do that others don't, and how can I flip that? And so that was just me trying to think, because what hasn't been done in the DMC, what will add to the history of it, and make people say, because a lot of people win, but then you're oh, dope, you won, congrats, but then do they get remembered for what they did? Or are you ever yo, so-and-so won, and he did this thing with his armpit, and then all of a sudden we got horns, and I don't know, whatever it is, you remember it. It's like a marker in time.
Absolutely.
And then so that wasn't happening anymore.
Right.
And
it's funny, I mean, I definitely felt that that between Qbert, for a lot of years after Qbert, there was just kind of people doing the same thing, not really advancing the sport.
I hear you, and for me that would be after Craze, basically. Maybe, I mean, there were people who were technical with it that got
great at what they do, but not changing the game.
Yeah.
So you get in and you win DMC. How does that change the business for you?
I'll stop before the word business, and how does it change? I would say was so happy that it was like a conversation that now got open to people like, you know, Shortcut reached and like D-Styles, you know, kind of like people were like, you know, like the day I won or posted it even, Craze wrote, like, he writes things about other people's routines, but he wrote like, holy shit, tons of exclamations. He's not a hater, but he's a realist. He doesn't do that. And I was just like, okay, like that's tingles, you know. It's like, whoa. I'm like, okay, so that's real. And then that's what I was actually after, you know. And it just was like, now I'm really like paid my dues and really part of, you know, the scene. And it's also that stuff I was telling you about where I'm trying to find something that's different. I did it. It wasn't just a desire. And then in terms of business of it, I was getting more bookings, you know. I mean, if anything though, people didn't know me before, so a lot, you know, the amount of people in the DJ world, because I think the only people that probably haven't heard of me in the DJ world are like Tiesto or something, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, it's funny because
shout out Tiesto. but
it's funny because we use this term DJ to mean, I don't even know what it means anymore. Because it used to be turntables, now not everyone uses turntables. It used to be playing other people's music, now it's not necessarily that, right?
Yeah.
I think it means you're not a country singer, is kind of all it means to be a DJ.
But then again, you got Avicii with Eminem.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, I mean, like...
it's just such a broad term that encompasses all this stuff that and sometimes doesn't even have that much in common.
I agree. And so people like knew me for that. Yeah. And then so they're like, oh, we'll get you to do a showcase, or oh, we'll see, but we're not really doing turntablism at this thing. So, and I'm like, I DJ. I've been a DJ. Right. That was the first just thing I did is DJ and I mean party rock and raves, like just doing like raves are a lot of things I got booked at first because because the hip hop scene where I was from was really like, it's kind of like there's one steak and like everyone's trying to eat it, and I just wanted to DJ, so I ended up becoming.
And what do you play at raves?
Hip hop.
Oh really?
Yeah. I mean, like, girls would come up, they see a little tag that you're like, you know, oh hey, what's up? What do you do? And I'm like, what are you playing? What time are you going on? I'd be like, 6 in the morning. I play hip hop, and then they're like, oh, and they walk away. Then 6 in the morning comes, and they're all high, and you know me, I smoked weed and stuff, but I wasn't into that. And then they would come up to me after like, you saved me the night, and I was like, and I'm like, yeah, you know. And so that's why I like groupies and stuff. Like whenever that would happen and stuff, I would just be like, push that to the side. That's
you gotta
like
get
whack.
them early.
Just they were all whack, like because nobody really likes you for who you are, and that's kind of how I am in general in life. Is like, you know, like But anyways, so that's why I play raves a lot, and it really made me from day one. Now that I think about it, I didn't even think about it. Because my whole thing has always been playing in front of people who you have to prove yourself to. And in the hip-hop community, they'll be like, oh, yeah, I got that record, dope. What up? We're hip-hop. We're the same. Yo, what up? Right. But, like, you know, or even skateboarding. Oh, you skateboard. Skateboarding is like, you skateboard? You're cool. Like, we're down with us. That's just it. You don't have to do more. Have fun. And then, so I would always be put in front of these people. Like, in Montreal when I lived there, I played, like, every festival there. And I'd be put on, like, before or after a band. And the band would be like, if I was... after them, they'd be like, why are you playing after us? And then they'd see me, they'd be like, yo, how are you like changing notes? And like, that was really cool, we should talk. And it's like, or even the crowd, they'd be like, oh, DJ Bray's coming on. And people would be like, you know, like you could see it. And then I'd play and they're like, oh, what? You know, and then they'd come closer. Like, and that was always my thing is like, so I at first I was like, they don't even know. They don't even know. They're just like, you know. And then I was like...
So is it like you're trying to prove something to them?
Yeah, but then I turned from they don't even know to like, oh, man. Like, you know, what did I pick this game for? Like, I like doing it. But then I was like, every time I finished, they would like it. And I was like, okay, like, at least that. But I'd be like... Then I sort of got that thick skin where it's like, I didn't know... Every time, I didn't know if they would like it after. So I always had this feeling of... I don't know, like, I didn't... I not shyness, not timidness, but like not worried, but something about that all combined. And I was never nervous, but it was just kind of like I really have to be on my game.
Man, I just read Questlove's book. It's one of my favorite books I've read recently.
Cool.
And he talks about, I forget where it was, but some party that he played where like a bunch of his heroes were gonna be there, and he was gonna play the best set of all time, and they came up and were like, you got to like started asking requests and like you got to change this music.
Oh,
it just wrecked him. And he, because he had this thing in his mind, but he also said, the lesson, right, is like you're there for the crowd.
Yeah, and adapt. Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So back when I played those raves, what it taught me was like, because nobody came up to the DJ. Like you
right?
they
Yeah,
were
not at a rave.
They were a teacher.
Yeah.
And you were happy to see
Yeah,
them, and you
yeah.
listened for that hour.
Yeah, I mean, a festival is a different animal. Right?
Yeah, and I mean, I enjoyed it because it was like, just like let me be. I have something to say.
Yeah.
But I still feel that way because like now what you're talking about is true, but they just want you to play the exact same song. Like they're happy. Like, and I don't care about sounding like jaded. I'm not. I just think it's silly that people nowadays want to like go and hear the same song from every DJ.
Well, they're conditioned. Again, you don't go to a concert. I mean, you can shout out the songs you want to hear, but they're not gonna know. Like, bands don't adjust their set list based on requests, right?
I mean, it's happened.
Sure.
But I hear
But you don't go see the Rolling Stones at an arena, and they're like, hey, can I hear, right? Or someone else's song they want you to play a cover of, right? And so but we just have an idea in our heads of what a DJ is and what they do, and our relationships as fans or as attendees to the DJ, and that works fine for some situations and not so well for others. Yeah,
and I'm not against playing. Someone requests something, I'm like, what, that's no problem. But it's like they, like one time, I was playing this party and someone's like, can you play Bohemian Rhapsody? I'm like, you know what? Yes, I can.
Yeah.
So, and I was playing something around 70 BPMs. It was like a sort of a dubstep song, I guess you could say. And I was like, wait, the key is exactly the same. Hey, it's halftime of this if I just put that a little higher. And I started mixing. I'm like, this is dope. And then, it's even like got a different signature of it. So, and then she's like, no. She comes up after. She's like, no, don't do that. Play the song. Play. And I was like, so not only am I playing the song, but I have to play it the way you want me to play it. So it's just like levels. But I'm not. It's just. So there's playing routines. I see what you're saying as a band, and you don't have requests. But yeah, I love it if someone's like, "Yo, play your ZZ Top routine." I'd be like, "All right, you know what?
Yeah, that's
Thank you for remembering. Or play that track from your album. Sure thing."
Yeah.
But like, and that's not to like just make my ego like happy. It's like, but I mean, if someone's always, so I don't care. That's just like part of the game. But like, yeah, I mean, I guess so how did it, change everything? It made me feel relief too, because I was like, this is what I was trying to do, but I'm not done. So what's happening? So next,
Right.
Because
sure.
Yeah, because I had taken a pause, by the way, from battling for a long time. I stepped away after winning Canada, and that was my only goal. Actually, my only goal was winning Winnipeg, and I was like. But I produced, and I was like, I wanted to be like in my band. So I had a rap group called Sound Barriers with Gruff the Druid. In Canada, we toured, and it was dope. And then I was like sitting on the, couch with my friend scratching DJ Vect, and we were like, watching some routines. We're like, that guy, what the fuck is he doing? That's so cheap. That's whack. That's like, people don't even know. And then I realized like he was battling and making some noise, but I'm just sitting on the couch. I'm like, that's the worst. I was like, time to get off the couch, and I'm not allowing myself to be that guy. And then afterwards, I was like, hey, cool. Well, now I can just continue producing, and the rappers that I'd worked with years before, they were like, where I was like the guy who did choruses, and then they were like in the limelight, and then it was like this shift where now people listen to me. So that's one of the changes I really liked. It was like, okay. Like, not because I had more clout than them, and I never used an ego situation. Maybe that's also some of my problems for like advancing in this world, but I just was like, okay, now they're gonna listen. So and I liked that because I didn't have to. The proof is in the pudding. Sure. You go again skateboarding. You go and do a kickflip down a set of 10 stairs. You did it. Doesn't matter if you're skinny, ugly. You started yesterday. You did it. That's it. In scratching, you could like watch a tutorial, do certain scratch overnight, and still people are like. Because it's all subjective. Music's subjective. Sure. So. But it got me more gigs, and I liked it.
It doesn't feel like you think of this as a business.
I mean, I definitely. Okay, so this is a good question. So all I had was that passion, which I still and I only wanted, my goal was to feed my skills and to add to the culture, and that's really all it was. And then so I did that, and then I'm like getting older a bit, and I'm like well, I was dreaming about this. I dreamed about winning the skateboard competition again in my town. I won, but then I was like, wait, I never dreamt about money before. That's not really, but I guess I better start dreaming about it, because like if I can make my dreams come true, even though I'm not like, that's not that honorable or whatever, I need to make a living. So I was like, now I'm like dreaming of money, and I'm trying to think about how that works. How does that fit in, to my and it's coming, I'm starting, I make these scratch records, like, these things, man. I gave one to the test press to Z-Trip that day, and these things, like, I make a record, I spend 5 years to make it, and it sells a certain amount. I make those like in a week or two, and produce them in a week or two, and they sell like thousands of copies. I make so much money. I'm like, it's skewed, but I mean, whatever.
Well, no, because that's a musical instrument.
It's true. It's true. Oh, good point.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people, because it's a broader, because not everybody who likes scratching likes my. Yeah, that's a good point. But so and some cool shit happened recently too. Which started allowing me to get a bit more money and also do what I like, is I started playing with this orchestra. I did like a 60-piece orchestra show.
What's it called?
It was written by Prokofiev, and it's called Concerto for the Turntables.
Who's the orchestra?
Well, this one, it's just a like a score. So
okay. Cool.
But like DJs Switch. DJ Switch was the one who worked with Prokofiev to do the first performance, and then it was touring. And so this the Montreal Symphony Orchestra sought me out. 60-piece orchestra. I'm the soloist. Never read a. I'm not good at reading music, but I can. But so here I am, like the 2 practices, half hour each. They've never seen it before. They're going through it. I'm like, but wait a minute, and then I have to, so I was up like till 6 in the morning every night trying to get it right, and it was fun, man, and it was challenging.
You learned about work ethic from those guys.
Yeah, well, no. I learned about work ethic.
Not that you don't have work ethic.
No,
I'm not saying that.
That work ethic is what allowed me to be able to do it, to be honest. But I hear what you're saying. But then it went off well, and I get paid well for it. So it's kind of like I see a lane, and so now I'm like, I might not be that guy who's like making tons of money party rocking, although I can and I do. Like I went to China a couple weekends ago. I'm gonna go again in a couple weeks. Last year I had a big tour there, and I do Europe and stuff. But that's might not be where I'm like But like I'm finding my own lane, so I'm like, okay, a musical side fits there. The scratch record side, okay, that fits there. And like working, I'm working on commercials and stuff, and I enjoy that, because it's like, how do I like figure out what's in their head? How do I figure that out? And I love that skill, because it works well with rappers and stuff. So what's
the vibe in China? So my dad lives in China.
Oh, cool. Where?
In Beijing.
Cool.
He's a musician there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, next time I go, you got to link us.
Yeah, for sure.
Dope. So China. Well, first of all, Beijing, you got to watch out, because every time you blow your nose at night, there's some black up in there. It's really.
Yeah.
But so first time I went there was for pleasure. I was actually after DMC. I'm like, let's just like get out of the world.
Oh, cool.
So my wife and I went to like the center of the country, and I was like, my plan was to just record sounds in the street, make beats every night.
Nice.
And then perform them in front of somewhere cool, like the Summer Palace or the Temple of Heaven. And it was dope. It went really well, got well received. I put a video up every night, and even though China wasn't, it was hard to, my label at the time, I would send them the thing, they would post it. And I was learning a lot about their culture. It was so dope. It was like, I want to, it's called Culture Cuts. It's a series that I've been pitching to different TV stations. It's gonna
cool.
It's gonna come out on actually with DJ City. We just signed about it for a pilot there. But it's that was my favorite thing. That's how I got introduced to it. But then from being there, all these people are like, hey, DJ Brace is here. Why don't you come down to this thing or do that? I'm like, well, here with my wife, but let's do that for next time. So then I made this whole tour, and I saw like a lot of the country, and I love it. It's just, I don't know what, it's just so different. And it's not like I haven't seen, I've seen a lot of the world, but I hadn't seen Asia yet.
No, it's totally different.
It's so fresh.
So
I love the music. I feel like that is, people would always tell me like Asian music seemed to be a part of what my albums were like, and I was like, I don't know, okay, you know. But then I went there, I was like, I'm so in love with it. I'm like that's, to be honest, most passionate I am right now is about that project. So I go do these DJ gigs, and then meanwhile I'm sampling stuff on the streets, and I'm like, okay, the DJ gig's over, you know. Like, and they treat you well there. The culture is really open. Yeah. They have some of that, like, you know, play whatever else is playing, but it's fun for me. They don't really, I can't speak the same language, so they don't really ask requests, but like, but they you could just, it's by like that whole feeling, like you were saying with Questlove, you have to make know a bit. Yeah.
What's a mistake you made early on that you make sure you never repeat?
Don't forget your power plug. Don't forget your MIDI cable. You know, bring extra needles. There's tons of mistakes. Don't let you know, the sun get on your turntables, because the records will start warping up, and you're like, wait, what's happening? Oh, and then, you know, there's just countless, you know. Don't run after your favorite hero when you're young and be like, hey, so like, what's up, man? Just like focus on you, because you know that you know, you really got something to present. And, you know, those are a bunch. I made tons of mistakes, but that's how you get, you know, to not make mistakes.
Sure, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, about that turntable real quick. So there's like all these scales in it. Yeah. And got that from John Bees, who did the fretless, and I just, you know, there's like just features on it which I tried to, you know, just influence the company to make. And yeah, it's pretty dope. I just made a video for it. It's gonna be coming out in July, like July 4th or something. So stay tuned for that. That's I really worked hard on that. That's like, again, you have to elevate. But you know, and then
I know you got some records coming out soon.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. True. Yeah. You heard some of my music. So so actually, before I tell you what's coming out, you know, plug myself. What did you think, or like what was sort of your impression of some of the stuff you heard? Because it's all really different.
I mean, the funniest thing is that, like, you know, again, we think of DJs as hip hop, or we think about dance music.
Oh yeah, true.
But you know, I wrote down, like, I don't know. After listening to your music, what I thought I knew about genres, I don't know.
Okay, that's good. So like what happened about a year ago, I finished my last album, put it out. It's through Fat Beats, called Apathia. It's part of a trilogy. Take a while to explain that, but I will. If you want, just check them out. Nostomania, Synesthesia, Apathia. Look out for those. And I really desperately, I promised myself I'd finish the trilogy, and I told myself, when it's done, I'm going to try like everything I haven't tried musically. But then at the time, I'd built up all these rules, and, you know, Primo used a MPC and all these people, original samples, no represses, you know, and I talked to one of my DJ friends, actually I Emerge, I mentioned earlier. He's like, why have rules? Break those rules. Or, you know, like, try everything. Like, what? Yeah. And I was like, oh, light switch went off. As hard as it was, I started breaking all my rules, and I started, like, I just went off. It was so fun. It's so fun to make music now. The first 4 months I was here, I wrote 3 albums, 10 songs, and now I'm just been doing the mixing and shopping, and man, so that's what it is. So the fact that you don't understand the genre is great, because it means that
that's not a complaint.
No. That's what my goal
out to me. Is
for sure. It could never be it's always a compliment. Yeah. I mean, that's what everybody's trying to do. Like, I make wiggle Clover Step, you know, and you're like, what is that shit, you know? Because, you know, and so you don't have to make a genre, but the fact that you don't know what it is fresh to me. Or, you know, but it's, for all intents and purposes, like, our grandparents would just call it electronic or something, because they don't really know. Sure. But yeah, I mean, so DJs have always been, to me, people who find records, scratch them, play records to make you either dance or have a great time making mixtapes, or produce music. That's since DJ Shadow, you know, I came out, and I was like, that was my definition. Right. And so that's what was my archetype, and cool. I've been sort of just, you know, trying to scratch as good as DJ Shadow until I got better, and I was like, yo, I'm better than DJ Shadow. No, but he's probably, I'm just fucking around, but he's dope too, obviously. But that was my archetype, yeah.
That's cool.
So what I was asking you, though, I can't get away from it. What was your impression other than the genre? And now I'm interviewing you, by the way.
Yeah, I'll take it. What was my...
What stuck out to you? Anything. It's like a Rorschach. Like, you know.
No, I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, I hear the Asian influence after you say it.
Dope.
I didn't have a name for that. when I was listening. But it's just this eclectic. Like I felt like I was on a journey.
Dope.
Like I was not in control. Like I was being taken, which is a good feeling.
Nice. I like that.
It's funny. Like I'm always, my relationship to music, I find fascinating. Like, meaning, first of all, I wake up with a song in my head almost every day.
Dope.
It's not always a song that I like. Sometimes it's something hella cheesy that I wish wasn't stuck in my head, but it is.
Fair.
And I kind of, have learned to respect that. And sometimes, like this, like walking in here, it was like Ollie and Jerry from the Breaking soundtrack. And I'm like, I love that song. I haven't heard it in, 5 years. Yeah. And I don't know why, like, it just fell out of the file folder at that moment.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's a really cool, like, everybody has these mechanisms. That's a really cool. So I'm glad to hear that, because what my 3 albums were about is, and I've been passionate about for like the last 10 years, is finding out, because, like, what do you think? Because I don't want to know that everybody thinks the same thing.
Sure.
And that's what I was like complaining about a bit earlier, is we're all wanting the same thing, because we don't really. We've been told to.
So, but hard, though.
But wait though, because like the thing about it is that interested me, because it's just an interest. It's not like a thing that I never think we should be a certain way. I never think things should be a certain way, and that's what my point is. I'm getting at is that I started this thing. I was like, let me make it like sort of anonymous, where like I put a song out there, and there's a painting that goes with the song, and that's what, if you get my actual records and the CD and stuff, or the digital versions have it too. Yeah. Like, and that album in particular, and I know what you're talking about, it was made, because the first one's called Nostomania, and that's called the uncontrollable, it's like defined as the uncontrollable urge to return home. So it was kind of like you find a definition of it to yourself, and then you want to go back there, which has always been sort of how we feel about music. You put it on, you're like, it's like that track you were talking about from Break, and you're like, I just haven't felt like that in a while. What's that feeling? It's not the feeling I get.
Right.
And the fact that you have those is what I'm trying to incite, because a lot of times now people are like, yo, that band, the band is like, oh, they're the pinnacle, like they're cooler than me, and I can only hope to like own their future record, and I'm just, and then you're focused on that. But what happened back in the 70s and 60s, people were like, they were in control. They put it on their record player, and they were like, wow, I feel this, I feel like that, and that's gone. So in my opinion. So I wanted to not bring that back, but I was interested in what is that. And so the first one is Nostomania. Yeah, like I said, you find your path home. The second one is Synesthesia, which all of us know is confusing the senses. And then the third one's called Apatheia, which is this place where philosophers used to try to get to, where it's like, because where you have no preconceived notions, and it's just like the truth and your truth. So because a lot of times now everything is like filled with, like, if I mention something to you like Trump or terrorism, right away these things come in, and then if I ask you about it, it's like kind of like emotions cloud you, but then also like social structures and construct cloud you. So then how are you going to get what is the truth? And it's hard to tell what that is, but you could get it. You could get to it, whether it's by research or by thought. And some things are harder to find by thought, but whatever it is, it's like to be non-biased, to calm down, and to find the truth. So your truth, getting rid of the noise from the world, getting rid of like all the like hate, love, happiness, whatever, getting rid of that and saying, what do I feel? What am I, And so that took you on some journey that you couldn't control. So cool. Then you're starting to figure it out for yourself, like what it actually means to you, where someone else might say something different. So I was really influenced by that. And that was my trilogy to sort of let
That's
people.
Cool.
And it was also an orchestral attempt at mixing hip hop with orchestra music. And right when I released the third one, I got that opportunity to work with that 30-piece orchestra, which is like, it's just like the world sometimes like hands you like things and prepares you, So
that's cool. Did you ever see Dakar?
No.
So I had there was a 60-piece orchestra. It's called Dakar Hip Hop Orchestra.
Oh, I'm writing that
They
down.
were here. I don't know if they're.
Wait, is it Dakar? Like
Dakah?
Okay.
So I had an opportunity to make a record with them.
Oh, sick!
A while ago.
Yo, I gotta get linked.
I'll get you a copy. Yeah.
Where are they from?
They're from here.
Okay, because Dakar means second in Hebrew.
Oh, okay.
I was just wondering, but that's cool.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, it's such a cool concept. It's also so practically difficult to get.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I that's the thing. It's hard with lots of people, but I mean, hey, you know what? Like, it's just about like just trying stuff, and I think it's cool. I'm interested in it. It's like I'm so like wrapped in what I'm doing that halftime, which is probably what you hear halftime from producers. So it's like, or musicians that.
Well, I think you have to be. You gotta be able to shut the world out sometimes and create.
Yeah, and by the way, speaking of that, so the rappers I'm working with, I come back to that. One is Soulcon. If you Google him, you'll see like millions of views of him battling people, but he also has great music, and so I'm producing him now. And then working with this guy named Mouth, with an E at the end, Mouth. He's incredible, and I was a huge fan, and I heard him right around that time. I was telling him about breaking my rules and stuff, and I hadn't heard music that was like, like I gotta hear it, like just, you know, and so then I reached to him, and I felt so lucky to be working with him, and now we are like, I'm his producer, and he produces with me, but like, we're like just, that's my group, and me and Soulcon are a group too, but then, and I have like a bunch of remixes, and single songs, and the Mouth project and some EPs are coming out on the record label called Westwood, which is in Canada, and it's making some good noise. They have like tons of great releases, and I started working recently with another hero of mine, which my wife introduced me to through listening to telepop music. They had a hit called "Breathe," which was nominated for a Grammy. But anyways, her name's Angela McCluskey. And she actually lives here, which tripped me out. And I brought my wife to see her. Me and Angela spoke, and I just produced one of her songs. Oh, nice. And now we're working on an EP, and so it's she's a singer, so I'm doing singer-songwriter type stuff, which is super interesting to me.
I'm sure.
And I'm just, so those are the things like I'm up to. I'm just immersed in that. You'll catch me at shows. You'll catch me at the Beat Junkie School. I've been teaching, so since 2002, I was working with them. But so I'm, these are the things.
So what do you when you're teaching? I mean, obviously, I'm sure a lot of it is technique, right? And but what's something that you tell students who are starting out as DJs? What are some important lessons they need to know?
Well, actually, they tell me what they need to know, because everybody's at varying levels. But what I find is I have to learn how you learn, because I just, like, I've seen teachers, and I didn't come up with this through, like thinking about it before. I just realized that's how it works, is everybody learns different. So if I say, a baby scratch is moving the record back and forth, and then you close the fader when you're done, let's say, and then what does that mean? Where do you find the sound? How does it? What is it? So I was like, the way I taught it at the very base, if you don't get it, is open the fader, rub the record, close the fader, and then the forward scratch would be the same thing: open the fader, let go, hold, close, rewind. And that's at the very base. But at the highest level, it'd be like a forward scratch is, letting go the sound and then closing the fader and getting back to the beginning of it. But that's... So you have to learn how people learn. And once you break into that, then it's real easy. And I try not to top them with too many. Like, I teach a lot in an hour, because a lot of people, I have a, I'm pretty pricey, but I'd say like it's worth it learning from a world champion. But I just tend to, I tend to like give them a lot, but I know when to cap them off, because if you teach someone 10 scratches, they'll learn them in an hour and do them, replicate them, but then next week it's too much. So I think about 4 or 5 scratches in an hour, and I always go a bit over time, but like people are always like, it's a lot of money, like skeptical almost, no matter who. And then at the end, they're always thanking me like, and I teach production too. So I really just try to figure out what they want, what their goals are, how do they learn, and inspire them too, because a lot of them are timid and shy. The older you get, the more shy you are. If you teach little kids, they don't care. They'll listen because they want to learn. They're like, he taught me that. I want to learn another one. Give me another one, and that's so fun. But like, it's rare that you get, everybody's usually like, because it's a cool thing, right? Like, I don't want to look uncool. I'm like, of course. And it's the truth is like, no difference between you and me on scratching at all. At all. None of that stuff with the foot pedals and all that stuff. It's just that I put in more time than you.
Of course.
And you might have to put in an extra 100 hours versus what I put in, or you might have to put in less, but it's just the amount of time you put in. So that letting them know that logically, they're like, it switches off and they're like, okay, so I just, he's right. I mean, why? That's totally correct. So now I just I don't have to feel bad. A baby doesn't feel bad when it's not walking perfectly at the beginning, right? But it doesn't know not to. But we need to be told that it's okay. So
of course. It's funny. Whenever my son tells me he's not good at something, I'm always like, dude, I remember when you couldn't even sit up by yourself.
Boom. That's exactly it. Roxanne Shante said that to me once when I was like coming up. I was her DJ once, and she's like, because I was like, I don't know, like where's this going? She's like, don't forget where you came from. Yeah. And then I remembered that kid who didn't know anything about scratching, who had finished and just wanted to like finish with bands and wanted to just do his own music. Sure. And then the basement in Winnipeg. Yeah. And then had aspirations after seeing. So I'm like, oh yeah, oh okay, oh word, I'm in the right spot. Yeah. You know? Yeah, that's what's up.
One thing I've noticed, I noticed watching you online, and especially that kid K-Swizz. Yeah. Who's 14 or. For sure. Now, he might be a little older now.
He's my good friend. So.
Is he? Yeah. He does it a lot. Is looking at the camera.
Oh yeah, okay.
And you know, the old Jazzy Jeff doing Peter Piper and like that. DJs never looked at the camera.
So I'll tell you.
Back in the day.
Actually, go ahead.
It just stuck out to me. Like, obviously, I spent a lot of time with musicians, and content and your social persona and all that is now part of. We're at a point where people have learned that's part of what it means to be a musician or a public figure of any sort, right?
For sure.
And that hit me watching him especially, but even I see you do it a little bit too. And like, so I just wonder, how much are you thinking about that, the performance aspect, your social media presence? Like,
wow, that's a really good question. Okay, starting off, when you do a speech and you're told when you're really young, address the crowd. Yeah. And then second, whenever people have watched battles and they say that guy who was just like half down, is not looking, it's like that's kind of awkward. So just look up a bit. Yeah. And then that being said, you hit a nail on the head, because when I was filming one of my biggest routines, that I was like, okay, I learned my routine. Now I'm gonna you did this, right. That, and then it's like, and then that, and then I was like, I was messing up my routine like crazy. And I was like, wait. One day I realized after 3 days filming, 8 hours a day, I was like, I spent 6 months making this routine, but I didn't spend one day like doing these motions. I used like the time between to get to the next. So I'm like, why am I doing? I'm like, you know what? Cut all that shit up. Just go straight. Whatever happens. And that's it. And so, I mean, there's a bit of it, because if you go to actual performance on stage, you have to look at the crowd. Like, everybody looks at the crowd. Maybe the drummer's like behind you don't see him. Right. But it's the first time I battled nationally in Canada, people said what they said about me was most like I was a zombie, because I didn't like have I was like, sure. But at the same time I looked straight the whole time. I didn't even look at my tables, and I was good at that because I already knew what I had to do. But they were like, whoa, how did you do that shit? And I wasn't one of my tricks. It's just like I was like, I don't want to look down. I know what I got to do. Sure. And so, and they're the crowd. So, and half the time I look up at the crowd because I'm good at that now. So I learn not to stare specific people in the eye. It's awkward, but I look out there. Yeah. Because it's like you're connecting with people. But in videos, I agree when it's just like they mouth the words like, "Yo, you're going to last." In this, I'm like, stop it. Yeah. Or they're like, yeah, it's about to happen. And I'm just like, I know it's about to happen. Just like, if you want to look up and be like, right. Or if you're just like, hey, what's up, guys? It's just like, you like just it's a little. Yeah, I mean, I think
it's like anything, right?
But he's a little kid. You're talking about K-Swizz. He's so excited. When I was over his house, he's just like. All the time, he's like, hey, Brace, what's up, man? Check out the scratch I did. All I do is scratch. And I'm at his house, he's like, no. And he's just so excited and passionate about it that what you see is just a kid who's just happy to share things. So it's real and it's innocent. Whereas
it feels very natural.
Right? No, I'm not saying you were. I'm just telling you how I feel about it. Because sometimes people are like, and they've written online even about his stuff, is like, people shouldn't smile. People. Oh, really? And I mean.
No, I can see what.
But I mean, like, the people who have said that, I understand them because they want to see, what they don't want to see you plan And it is kind of annoying. Like, Craze put a video, he's like, hey guys, I'm smiling. And the whole way through he did this. And I was just like, that's funny as shit. Yeah. But it's like, it's true. And I think, look, if you're all showman and like putting on wigs and like doing body spins, then that's not gonna, that's maybe 1 point, you know, but like really, like I said earlier, the proof is in the pudding. So at the end of the day, if they're doing sick shit and you're like, yo, blown away, cool.
Definitely. No, I love those videos, K-Swiss, and I think like, and I think, you know, you have to engage with people, right? That's true. That's ultimately what, you know. It
does get a bit weird though in video when someone's looking at you and you're like not expecting because you're like, whoa, what's this coming from? You look at me?
That's funny. All right, I got to get to a lightning round.
Dun, dun, dun.
Nice. We need a transition song. It's perfect. What's your favorite city to travel to?
Lijiang. Lijiang.
Where is it?
It's in China.
What part of China?
Yunnan province.
Oh, okay. South.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. I haven't been to the south yet.
Super dope. 1,000-year-old cities and it's amazing.
Well, I was in Hong Kong, so that was like my closest.
Yeah, they all have that much history. We don't have it here. But anyways,
of course. That's cool.
That was my favorite so far.
Who's your favorite DJ?
Ooh-wee. D-Styles.
Nice. What's the last great book you read?
Ooh, wow, that's going back a long time. I would say Bomb the Suburbs is probably my favorite.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it changed me a lot.
I have a.
Because I mean, I've read books since, but that was the one that still takes the cake.
I have a copy with the pages stapled together, like he sent it. He sent it to me.
William Upsky?
Upsky, yeah. So he's. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but we were friends.
He's all into straight politics, deep into politics.
Yeah, he's deep into politics for sure.
I was always looking for that follow, but yeah, that's
But he sent me a copy for like review that was like unbound, like just pages stapled together. It's a great book.
Yeah, it is.
That's cool.
Sure.
I'm glad you say that. What movie have you seen the most in your life?
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
We just watched that with my son because he's 9. We saw that like a few weeks ago. Cool.
I'm convinced that, and ever since then, because those guys were terrible at music, but they somehow got good at the end. Remember, they went back in time and learned from the guy in Faith No More and taught them.
That's right.
That's actually one of my biggest inspirations, because to keep trying and to be like just passionate and don't care and be oblivious.
That's
but also, I'm convinced that we can make a song or a band or something musical that will create world peace sonically. So I'm still working on that.
Interesting.
I'm not joking.
No, I don't doubt it.
Lightning.
Tell me one decision that changed your life forever.
Nothing can, everything can come true. Every dream that I have can be a reality.
Complete this sentence. I don't have talent. I have blank.
Persistence.
So if I worked for you, what's something I would hear you say over and over?
I thought about that from, hey man, you want to go get something to eat? No, I'd probably...
That's very Canadian.
I'd probably be like, hey, can you just go study how to mix this properly? Because I have to make another song.
That's good. Who would you be most excited to learn appreciates your work?
Who would I most be like to? D-Styles. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. Him and I keep passing. You know, we have these like philosophical conversations. We're supposed to meet up and jam, and it'll happen. But I'd love to. Sure I just love to. He feels his way through music, from what I can tell, and a lot of scratchers, don't. So I really want to just be around that.
Yeah. Brace, thanks for having us in your studio.
Yo, of course, man.
Sharing all this with us, man.
Fresh.
Appreciate you.
Fun. Yeah, likewise, man.
Nice. How does everybody find you?
DJbrace.com. It's the easiest.
Cool.
I mean, you can do the whole, DJ_Brace. The other guy got it. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Why. Yeah, and he posted once. But DJ_Brace, Instagram, Twitter. But just, Facebook, DJ Brace. But just go to DJbrace.com.
Yeah.
And put me in YouTube, put me in Google.
Perfect.
It's Brace. It's DJ Brace. Brace. I'm not sure if that's All right, guys.
Nice. Yeah, that was DJ Brace on Rebel Radio. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Make sure you leave us a comment, a review on iTunes, a comment on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you like. It's at Rebel Radio Net. All kind of good stuff happening there. Most importantly, come back next week for more Rebel Radio. Peace.